What do you do if you find yourself sitting across the negotiation table with someone who doesn't appear to be interested in obtaining a win-win outcome? They're what you call hardball negotiators, and they use win-lose tactics. It's pretty obvious when someone is not interested in win-win. They will wear masks. They will not actually share their underlying interests. They'll often use intimidation, yell and scream, often bluff, often exaggerate. They won't listen to you. They're not interested in hearing what you have to say. And it's really impossible to achieve a win-win outcome unless your counterpart is also interested in a win-win outcome. So what do you do? I'm going to give you a few tips on how to handle and how to turn around a win-lose negotiation into a win-win negotiation. We've seen a little bit of research about this, and what was found is that if you're entering a difficult negotiation and you happen to suspect that your counterpart is going to be coming from a hardball win-lose position, it's often helpful to start off the negotiation by requesting your counterpart to be cooperative, saying something like this. This is extremely difficult negotiation. It's got a lot of pain points to it. Because of that, I especially would like us both to work together and be cooperative so that we can come up with the best possible outcome for both of us. Often just putting your counterpart on the spot and requesting out in the open that you're asking for their cooperation, very often that will deflate your counterpart's win-lose tactics and they'll become more cooperative. But what if that doesn't work? What if you find your counterpart using these hardball tactics of ignoring what you're saying, speaking over you? It often works at that point in time to actually call the win-lose negotiator on their behavior, be very specific, and in a very calm manner request that they stop. For example, don't yell over them. Just when they finally stop, say, "It appears to me that you're trying to intimidate me. And I don't think that that's useful for either of us. I would really appreciate it if you would take a break and gather yourself so that we can have a sincere discussion here." So if you remain calm like that and you frankly and openly ask them, sometimes that will work. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it can escalate it. In that case, you have a few options. One is for you to use the intimidation tactic back at them or bring in a bad guy to use the intimidation tactic back on them and then go back to being cooperative. Another option you have is what's called the end run, trying to get somebody else within their organization to sit at the table, requesting that there's somebody else sitting at the table who's more interested in problem solving than intimidating. What's most important if you find yourself sitting across the table from a win-lose negotiator is not to let the tactic work. Because if you let the tactic work, they will continue to do it. There can be many reasons why an intimidator uses win-lose tactics. Historically, it could have worked. They may be calling your bluff because they don't have a lot of information at hand. They may have a weak hand. It could be it's the best they know. Your job is to deflate these tactics, and the best way to do that is to not react and not have them work. Call them on it. Request to stop. If you need to, use the tactic to meet with them, and then back off. And there is one other kind of win-lose negotiator that I do want to also mention. And that is you might run into what's called the irrational negotiator. And that is what they seem to be saying is completely illogical. And it doesn't make any sense to you, and you can't understand why they would be asking for that. It seems to be, on occasion, you run into a negotiator who seems to be shooting themselves in the foot. They're asking for something that won't even be good for them. So there are two reasons they may be doing this. One reason may be they don't know something you know, or the opposite, they know something you don't know. They also could be dealing with restraints within their own company that you have no idea. And then, of course, there is the final reason is they actually are an irrational person. By using sincere probing questions, you should be able to discern if they're truly irrational or they're misinformed, or you're misinformed. Now, if you're there misinformed, you can work with that. If they're truly irrational, it's very dangerous to continue to negotiate with them. And at that point, you want to take option B, go to what's called your BATNA, your best alternative to a negotiation, to a plan B. So happy negotiating.